The next place we go to is the alley, which sit on 43rd and 16th. Now the alley is over there in Alapata area. It's called the 40s. I got family over there. My auntie stayed over there, but we really was grandfathered in over there through my dog Sarge. Sarge grew up in the 40s, and he kind of grandfathered us in over there, and we was already down with everybody over there. And over there in the alley, we was the original alley boys over there in the 80s, right down 43rd and 16th. The alley, that spot was a juggling spot. Everybody would go grab jugglers, and we would come out every morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, and we would close shop at 1 a.m. And no particular nigga owned this spot. It was a freelance spot, but you had to be down with the crew. And it was maybe 13 or 14 of us that'd come out every day, and we would get to it. And we would come out, and each of us would have like $1,000 bomb, meaning we would have like $1,000 worth of nickel rocks, $5 rocks. And at the end of the day, all of us would be sold out. We never ran the cars. We went rock for rock. So you can guesstimate that it was maybe $13,000, $14,000 worth of crack being sold on this particular street every day. Now, if you had personal customers that your customers only wanted you, then you had carte blanche. That was your customer. But other than that, we went rock for rock, and everybody sold out every day in the alley. And, sometimes we'll still go holler at Sonny and Sweet, or we'll holler at Boo. But then we start hollering at Cigar. One time for the OG Cigar on the Bab. We used to go holler at Cigar, get on the jitney, go out to Opa-Locka, and we used to go holler at Cigar. Now, I want to say one time for Opa-Locka, and to go back, to double back, we always wondered the niggas who killed Pitt, we always wondered where they was from. Well, later on in life, we found out these niggas from Opa-Locka, so it all made sense. Now, we know over town, Florida, they murder game is up. Brown Sub murder game up. Liberty City, our murder game always been up. But Opa-Locka is like fucking Beirut. Out there in the triangle with 7 Cent and all that back there, them niggas, they wake up on killing niggas. So it all made sense when we found out the niggas who laid on Pig, they was from Opa-Locka. So Opa-Locka, Florida was always like a third world country. Them niggas ain't play out there. But we used to go out there and we used to cop jugglers from Cigar. And Cigar was a real smooth OG. We used to catch a jitney out there, go up to his apartment. His apartment was on the 2nd floor. And we would come in, and Cigar had like $30,000 or $40,000 worth of nickel jugglers on his big ass table. And we used to come cop from him like every day. And he used to tell him, man, y'all go ahead and pick out. And we used to pick out the biggest jugglers we could. And we'll get back on the jitney and we'll dick back off to the city. Go to the table, chop that shit up, and get busy. Sometimes Cigar used to be out. Sometimes Sonny and Sweet used to be out. Sometimes Boo used to be out. So we used to go holler at Grandma and the Site 16 projects, because she had big jugglers too. So we definitely had options. So that was our little thing to do every day. Get up, get to the money. So now we got Victory Homes getting to it. We in the alley getting to it. Now, our next stop and this where the plot thickens at. Our next stop is Brown Sub. Brown Sub, Florida. For those who don't know, it was only 2 places in Miami back in the 50s and the 60s that black people, really African Americans, stayed. Either you stayed in Overtown, Florida, or you stayed in Brown Sub, Florida. And let me touch on something right quick. Everywhere Miami boys go, they always ask, well, where you from? And when we say we from Miami, they were like, well, y'all Florida boys then, and we'll correct them. We were like, nah, we Miami boys. Especially back then, Miami boys, we were different from anybody else in Florida. This ain't no shade, because it is what it is nowadays, everybody looked the same and act the same, you know, no thanks to social media. But back then, you know, you definitely can tell the difference between a Miami boy and anybody, any other city in Florida. But we'll tell them quick, you know, we Miami boys. Now to break it down even better, you know, we put Florida on every hood in Miami. Everybody always asks me, well, where y'all from? Yo, I'm from Shutterline, Florida. Overtown, Florida. Opa-Locka, Florida. Carol City, Florida. Hialeah, Florida. Brown Sub, Florida. North Miami, Florida. Little Haiti, Florida. We put Florida on everything because every hood in Miami is like another city within itself. Homestead, Florida, Richmond Heights, Florida, Goulds, Florida, Chocolate City, Florida. That's it. That's just what it was. Seminole, Florida. That's just what it is. So Brown Sub, Florida, and Overtown, Florida was the two spots that African Americans, they was really only allowed to really settle with their families, especially back in the 50s and the 60s. You know, a lot of black athletes, a lot of black famous entertainers, politicians, they was only allowed to, you know, perform only in certain spots on Miami Beach, but they couldn't stay on Miami Beach to the hotel. They had to go to Overtown, which was called Colored Town back in the 60s. Or they went to Brown Sub and they stayed at the legendary Hampton Houses. Do your research. The Hampton Houses was the hotel that famous black people stayed. Dr. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, you know, Muhammad Ali, Ella Fitzgerald, you know, B.B. King. Any black athlete, or entertainer, or politician, they stayed at the Hampton Houses. They have revamped the Hampton Houses these days, but coming up in my era, the Hampton Houses was a little small project that you ain't want to be caught up in. You ain't want to be fucked up, man. My little homie, my little player partner, you know, he got shot fucking around in the Hampton Houses, chicken with a bit. You know, the Hampton Houses, they wanted $1 million crack spot, but you ain't want to be fucked up in the Hampton Houses. It went from a legendary spot to a notorious crack project, but now it's revamped, they done remodeled, and it's back to its essence. But Brown Sub, Florida was the last spot that we was in. When we left the alley, we still had work in the alley, but then we started doing things in Brown Sub. And like I say, this where it gets interesting at. So while we was working on 56, years prior, my dog, his sister, she moved to Brown Sub. And she moved to a spot known as Confidential. Confidential was $1 million weed spot that some Jamaicans had. Hence the word I said, had. Keep that word in mind. For my young jits today, these same projects, y'all may known as the place where the rapper Wavy Navy, where he lived at. I want to say rest in peace to Wavy Navy. He was an up and coming rapper out the crib. I think he the one got hit up leaving the zoo or something with his family or something. But if you could do your research on him, you can get a visual of the apartments what I'm talking about. You know, we just talking 30 years prior, but this is the same projects that my dog sister moved to. Well, Wavy Navy, he probably was born and raised years later. So she moved to these projects, and naturally, when she moved to the project, you know, she's a likable lady, real respectable. She demands respect wherever she go, but she's approachable and she's a people person. She get cool with all the neighbors. So now, Brown Sub, Florida is like another whole city within itself. One thing about Brown Sub, Florida, them niggas over there, they go break everything down. You could seldom get some weight out of Brown Sub, Florida. Them niggas go break everything down to the lowest common denominator. You know, you had OGs in Brown Sub that was millionaires, you know, like Law Dog. I want to say rest in peace to Old Man Tonk, millionaire, Old Coon millionaire. You know, he's been deceased for some years now. You had niggas that was really getting money. I want to say one time for my OG Wimp. That's my OG right there. That's my dog. Me and him, we got ties. We got family ties. One time for Wimp. So she moved to Confidential, and she get familiar with all the neighbors, and she kind of see, okay, well, it's a lot of crack money flowing through here. So naturally, she get to it, through me and my guy, which is her brother. Nothing big, just, little $200-300 a day, 'cause that ain't her lane. But naturally, all her friends that work throughout, lived in the project, they come sit on the porch, they play cards, they play spades, and then she get it in. But unbeknownst to us, you had some guys around there that didn't really, really wasn't cool with that. But we don't know. I don't know shit about brown sub. Now, I would say my childhood friend, his name was Ruler. His real name was Rick. He left Shutter Lawn when he was like 12 years old, and he moved to Brown Sub. Now, that was my best friend from the Sandbox before me and my other guy became best friends. Now, when Ruler left Shutter Lawn, he moved to the High Tops, right across the street from the Dolphin Store. Now, by him being my best friend, when he left Shutter Lawn, I used to go over his house and spend the night, like every other weekend. I wasn't used to the projects and all that type of shit, that kind of atmosphere. But when I would go over there, that shit was wide open. You had Law Dog across the street over there in the Diamond, eating, getting money. And my guy at 12 or 13 years old, he fell right into that shit. So after a couple of weekends of me spending out of his house, I stopped going over there because that he was different. He had done turned into another whole motherfucker like within a couple of months when he moved to the High Tops. But I didn't really know nothing about the sub, only but the little things he used to tell me. So years later, when my dog's sister moved over there, we get over there, we don't know shit about the sub. So now, one day she beat my dog and tell him some guy stepped to her and said she can't do nothing around now. So my dog get in the cab and he go home, and she give him play by play. Some guys say, you can't, I can't be doing nothing, and this, that, and the third. So my guy said, well, who he is. So she say, after all the rah-rah he was doing, he walked off and he said, my name Pratt. She said, that's all he said, my name Pratt. Okay, all right. So now she's still doing her thing. She just quieted down a little bit, but she's still doing her thing. So then maybe like a month later, a guy that she was dealing with over there, like this nigga who she was dealing with, her boyfriend, he was born and raised in the sub. Kind of find out Pratt and these guys, they sized him up. And they know this nigga. They told he couldn't do nothing. So now I'm trying to figure out, man, who this nigga is. So naturally, I go back to my dog Rick, the Ruler, and I ask them. So he tell me, he said, okay, yeah, man, yeah. All of we know each other. Yeah, they from here, they from the sub, but then they got family over there in Largemont. He was like, yeah, they kind of go for bad, this, that, and the third. He was like, yeah, as long as she chill and she quiet with it, you ain't got to worry about nothing. And he said, but they also they down with Clint. I was like, Clint who? He was like, Clint off the app. I was like, Clint who down with that? He said, yeah. I said, okay. So now I go do some more research. Now Clint's niece is my homegirl. We real close. We've been down for years. So I go step to her. Now all this in 1989 now. I go ask her, what's up with these niggas, man? And what's up with Clint? So she tell me, Cav, my uncle quiet. My uncle ain't on that. My uncle from the old school. My uncle ain't co-signing none of that fuck shit they got going on. She said, them niggas doing that shit on their own. And I want to say rest in peace to Clint, the OG from all 15, who was up under Deputy Dog. Deputy Dog was an old coon getting millions from the 70s and the 80s. And Clint was right up under him. So kind of find out, Clint was supplying these niggas was all the powder. Now remember I said she moved to the spot that the Jamaicans had called Confidential. Now these Jamaicans had a weed spot called Confidential, $1 million weed spot. Kind of find out, Pratt them got into a war with the Jamaicans. Now the Jamaicans, they was tied in with the Shaw Posse also. But I can honestly say, Pratt them, they shut that shit down. I'm just giving it to you facts. Gunplay every day. Now, all this happened after my dog sister moved over there. But when Ruler gave me the rundown and the resume, shut them dreads down. That's why I stand on when I say I take my hats off to the shower posse. But the shit that they did in all of other cities throughout America, they didn't do that shit in Miami. Some of the Jamaicans who got quiet money, some of them dreads who was eating off the weed, they was eating real quietly. But the ones who was on that rah-rah, Miami shut that shit down first quarter. They're just facts. So Pratt them shut them dreads down. And them dreads had hitters on their line. I want to say one time for Spoon. My OG. Rest in peace to Spoon. Spoon was down with the dread. One time for Heavy. My nigga Heavy definitely ain't played back in the old days. You know, but that's what they took an L on that one. Pratt them shut that shit down. So now they shut that shit down, and it ain't no crack in this particular building, but they got $1 million powder spot thanks to Clint. So now we trying to figure out, and then now, because you got to understand, back then, Miami, our mentality was the coke go sell itself, and it's enough money for everybody. Miami was never built on territorial shit like how all the other cities did. Now, true enough, Miami niggas went everywhere, and we locked down all cities. We locked down projects. Don't get it fucked up. Everywhere we went, we locked it down. From Alabama to Jacksonville to Tennessee to South Carolina to Georgia to Virginia to DC, we locked shit down and niggas can't do shit. But in Miami, our mentality was it's enough money for everybody. So we didn't understand how them niggas was on that. When Clint definitely wasn't on that because he from the old school. So, and them niggas had a powder spot that was making millions, and it was not 24 hours a day. So now, as my dog sister doing shit on the low, we over there in the alley. We got a little sack over still in Victory Home. So one day we in the alley and we getting ready to shut down. It's like 12-1. We done sold out. And my dog, we go to my auntie house. We count up. Okay, shit, we'll see you in the morning. We'll do the same thing in the morning. My dog get in the cab and he dick off and go home to the sub. So when he get out the cab, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. When the cab drive off, as he walking through the gate to go to his building, 4 doors open up on a slider. And shit, 4 or 5 niggas hop out the car. You know, my dog don't know nobody in the sub. And he definitely know who these niggas is, you know, but it's the element of surprise. So when niggas hop out the car, it's 4 niggas. 2 niggas up on him, and 2 niggas, all of them surround him. But he noticed one nigga that was in the passenger seat in the front seat, he couldn't walk. This nigga was like on crutches or something. He had his leg in like in a cast or something, so he couldn't walk. But my dog say from the rip, he knew that nigga, he the one was calling the shots. So when he hopped out, he say, one nigga said, nigga, didn't I tell you and your sister y'all can't do nothing around here? So my dog put 1 and 1 together and said, okay, well, this must be the nigga Pratt. But the nigga never said his name. So the nigga in the front seat, he's saying, Pratt